right, May-Thurner Syndrome, let's get into it. So this is yet another compression, and let's take out our diagram once again. So we have, again, red is artery, blue is vein. So you have the iliac arteries here, and this right iliac artery, as you can see, goes right over top of this left iliac vein. So that is where the compression comes in. It sits right on top of that vein and causes that compression. So that's that. So basically, for me, I was told that I had a 90% compression, which yeah, pretty close to 100%, you know, 10 away. Anyway, sorry. It's not great, but funny enough, I had very few, if any, symptoms of May-Thurner Syndrome, even with that big of a compression, which is really weird. So because of that, my vascular surgeon actually thought that all of my symptoms that I was having from the Nutcracker Syndrome was actually just May-Thurner Syndrome. So when I went into the procedure for like it's called a venogram, where they insert, I think it's like a catheter into, they can insert it into different areas, but mine was kind of in my groin, and they, you know, they do that, and then they kind of measure how bad the compression is, all that different stuff. I don't know fully. They use, I think, CT, or lots of x-ray CT, to kind of guide that. And anyway, so I asked before the procedure if there was any sign of Nutcracker Syndrome, if we could not do the stents, because I was already very hesitant when it came to the stents, because, you know, it's a foreign object going into your body that, you know, doesn't really belong there. And these stents are permanent. So it was a lot for me to take in. Not only that, but with these stents, I would be put on blood thinners. And although the blood thinners are supposed to be temporary, some people are put on them for life. And it's not really something I want to do. But I was told that stents were basically my only option. So anyway, I had asked, you know, if there was any sign of Nutcracker Syndrome, that we would not do the stents and we would just do it as a diagnostic venogram. Well, because they saw that the compression for May-Thurner was so large, they figured that the Nutcracker Syndrome was actually just being caused by May-Thurner Syndrome, because these two compressions can actually go hand in hand. So Nutcracker Syndrome can cause May-Thurner Syndrome, and May-Thurner Syndrome can cause Nutcracker Syndrome. But also, those two conditions can be completely unrelated, and they can just, you know, anyway. So, again, my vascular surgeon thought that the May-Thurner Syndrome, because of how bad it was actually causing Nutcracker Syndrome. And after the stents were placed, we found out that wasn't the case. So now I have two stents, not just one in my left iliac vein, but one in my right iliac vein. I was kind of under the impression that I would be getting just one stent in my left iliac vein, but I was told that basically if I get the one stent, that the other side, so the right side, could actually try and compensate for the other side and also compress, so they had to put a stent in both sides. So I didn't know enough about Nutcracker Syndrome at the time, and didn't realize that that would limit my chances of getting Nutcracker Syndrome surgery. So it has been a long ride. Not as long as some people, but it feels like a long time. So basically these stents, for any kind of surgery where they would need to clamp those iliac veins, stents are going to limit that clamping ability, because if you put a clamp directly on the stent, then that could collapse the stent, cause it to migrate, a lot of different things that you don't want to happen. So it's not really an option. And again, like I said earlier, these stents are supposed to be permanent. So once these stents are placed, I believe they kind of form to the vein walls. So removing it isn't really an option. It can be done, but that would probably result in needing in those veins needing to be kind of reconstructed, which I think I've seen done with like pig veins or something. it's really interesting. But yeah, so it's not a great option. But anyway, so I had those stents placed, and now we're on this long ride to get Nutcracker Syndrome fixed because the two ended up not being related. So I guess let's go into some of the symptoms that you can get for May-Thurner Syndrome. So a lot of it is usually left leg pain, swelling. A lot of it can be pelvic pain as well. For me, I didn't start getting symptoms until maybe a month before the stents were placed, and mine really ended up being more like hip pain, hip pelvic pain, I guess. It was really weird. We did also have a long car trip, a few states away, and I had this really bad pain in my left leg. Like it felt like my left leg was about to explode, and I was told by my vascular surgeon that feeling can actually be a normal symptom for people with May-Thurner syndrome. So I'm definitely lucky to not have had that normal symptom, and I am sorry to those that do have that symptom because it was not fun just for the time that I did have it. I was terrified because I was like, do I have a blood clot now because I didn't move enough in the van? And anyway, it was a journey for sure. But anyway, the stents have definitely helped. All those symptoms that I did have just temporarily are gone now. And another weird symptom that I had, I'm not sure if it was May-Thurner related or not, but I'm assuming it was because now it's not as bad. But I noticed that like pressing down kind of near my belly button, I would have like a strong pulse, which when, a doctor hears that, they get a little terrified because, it could be, an abdominal aortic aneurysm. I hope I said that right, or I guess another term for it is a AAA, which can be very dangerous, but thankfully all my scans were clear and I did not have that. But whenever I got the stents, I noticed that pulse actually got a lot less. So, I mean, I guess it was related. I don't know. Anyway, if you all had a similar, symptom and you have May-Thurner, then let me know, I guess. But yeah, so those are kind of the, I guess, main symptoms of May-Thurner syndrome. I'm sure there's a lot more, but I didn't have very many, so I'm not too sure. And then something else is when it comes to periods, that pain can actually be a lot worse with May-Thurner syndrome, but also with Nutcracker syndrome. So that's another thing to kind of keep an eye out for. So yeah, those are the main things. And then one of the more serious symptoms, I guess, is a DVT. So it's a blood clot in your leg, typically the left leg. And obviously blood clots are serious, and it would cause like major like redness, swelling, warmth in your leg. I believe, thankfully I've never had one of those, but I have heard of quite a few people that have had them. They're very serious. So if you have any symptoms of those, definitely go get checked out right away. Anyway, so yeah, those are the main symptoms of May-Thurner syndrome, I guess. But one of the things that I do want to bring up, something that is very important, if you do get checked for May-Thurner syndrome and you suspect that you have a Nutcracker syndrome as well, please, 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 if you decide to get stents, make sure you know how many stents you're getting. Because again, if you are getting 2 stents and you do end up having Nutcracker syndrome, that will limit your chances of getting the auto transplant surgery, which is again one of the higher successful surgeries. So definitely figure out how many stents you're getting. If it's just 1, then that's okay, because that surgery can be done on both sides, so it is what it is. But if you have a stent in both iliac veins like me, then you could be denied surgery due to those stents. So please be aware if you are getting 1 or 2 stents, or better yet, get your Nutcracker syndrome fixed before the May-Thurner, if you can. If that's like, if your May-Thurner syndrome symptoms aren't as bad, and your Nutcracker Syndrome symptoms are worse. Whatever the case may be, just make sure you keep your options open for whatever surgery you might need. So that's just kind of the warning I'm going to give there. But yeah, that's May-Thurner Syndrome for you. I hope that helps someone. Again, I would love to know if someone watching this also has May-Thurner Syndrome. If not, that's cool too. Maybe just a hi in the comments. I don't know. But I appreciate those that watched and kind of got to know this syndrome. It's a lot to deal with, but I could have always had it worse. So it's fixed now, and that's cool. So anyway, I guess we will move right along to POTS and orthostatic hypotension in the next video. So thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one.